the Fantasy Footballers Dynasty podcast with Borg, Betz, and a baller.
Welcome in to the month of October here, Fantasy Footballers Dynasty podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Borganoni, and I'm joined by a little bit older Matthew Betz and Mike Wright.
Just a little bit older.
That's right.
I mean, I'm not...
It's the birthday boy.
I'm not, Andy, Mike, and Jason old. Or Josh old. I mean, those guys. Whew, feel bad for you. But yeah, man, the mid-30s are officially here, and that was a sad realization this morning.
The good news is none of us are Papa Josh old.
I mean, that guy.
Like you said.
Whew.
That dude, I don't even want to talk about it. I don't think he would be ashamed. And our listeners, if they realized how old one of the employees was for the Fantasy Footballers, we might lose listenership.
They would, yeah, everybody would log out, everybody would unsubscribe. And the thing about Josh is that, we like to give a lot of cultural references. I would say that's part of Mike and I's friendship over the years.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that with Josh because there's just, all the references are just, they don't hit our demographic for him.
He's one generation removed from us. It's because we're honest, we're not that different in age, but it's always like a Thundercats versus Ninja Turtles, where it's like, I know Thundercats, I didn't grow up on it, and there's people some my age that we're in on it, but most of us, that was just one generation before us. So it's funny to see how that happens.
Josh is the meme. Hello, fellow kids. How do you do?
Yes.
Hello, children.
Poor Josh. We're wishing Betz happy birthday.
Josh is leaving the room now. He's had enough of this.
It's Betz's birthday, and he catches the stray in the intro.
I gotta deflect, man. I got to deflect.
No, I get it, man. On this episode, we will rewind the film, talk about a couple of players that we watched on film, and then we're going to do an interesting exercise where we're looking at the rest of season rankings, which are, if you're a Foot Clan member, you get access to those. Andy, Mike, and Jason get to walk through in redraft what somebody's rank is for rest of season. We're going to compare them to where we had them ranked in Dynasty before the season. So in other words, the players that have moved the most, Quentin Johnston, we will talk about guys like that. And what do you do in Dynasty? How do you evaluate them? The number one question I probably got 5 DMs in the last day because I put out a Quge stat and everyone goes, I need to get out, right? I'm supposed to, is there something that I don't know that I'm supposed to do? That is the thing in Dynasty. If you have a player, you're like, am I going to be holding the bag for a player that's hot for a little bit? But I mean, spoiler alert, guys, he was good last year.
He was. And we all, I don't want to say ignored it, but I do want to admit there is a psychological barrier with Quentin Johnston.
Oh, for sure.
Right? Because the rookie year was so bad. But like you said, last year it was okay, maybe figure some stuff out. And then what you're seeing right now is not just it's a fluky touchdown here or there. He is truly ascending and kind of dominating some usage here in the Chargers pass game. So yeah, we can talk about it more in detail here in a minute. I don't want to steal what's going on, but even if you spin it from a Dynasty angle, it's okay, well, even if you think maybe he comes back down as far as his efficiency and all those things throughout the course of the year, and there's going to be down weeks because that's how it is for every wide receiver, but even if you want to say what happens next year, Keenan probably isn't back on this team, right? Or if he is, he's another year older, and it's okay, well, then
Keenan
you still
will
have... he'll be in the league forever.
Retire.
You can't get a rational Keenan Allen discussion from Kyle.
That's accurate. But you have that factor going on, so it's even if you're not sure how the rest of the season plays out, next year, he's going to be a focal point of the Chargers pass game.
I believe, Mike, you were the one in the Ballers Main Dynasty that drafted Quge a couple of years ago, and I feel like he's made his rounds.
I did draft him. I actually traded him immediately because that was part of
CD.
Yeah, that was part of my giant push to get CD Lambs because no one had seen Quentin Johnston yet. It was it could have been a boat, and then he got traded many times over, many times as we're everyone's trying to figure out just how bad he was. But dude, my chips are in. He looks good. The passing attack looks good. This is exactly what you want from a fantasy guy, except what happened 2 years ago is just It will probably haunt fantasy players and Johnston for at least another full year. Like, he could have a great year this year, and the off-season banter is going to be, was that just the best year that Quentin will ever have?
Yes.
Was it fluky? Like, that's what the conversation is going to be. And then he'll have to put up another great year to erase how stinky stink that original rookie year was.
Yeah, we'll talk about him, talk about some other players and the rest of season rankings in just a second, but let's rewind the film.
Weekly Rewind.
I am excited to talk about these players today. A couple of them I actually have on my roster, and I wanted to see y'all's film takeaway first. Y'all's. Definitely my Southern drawl just came out. Y'all's film takes, as most people say. Betz. This was the Thursday night game. You're going to talk about Trey Benson. How did you feel? I want to ask Mike too. How did you feel about the jerseys overall for the Cardinals?
I liked them.
I thought the jerseys were the helmets were absolute fire.
Loved the helmets.
Jerseys. The little speckles. I don't think we needed those. I wasn't as turned off by that as everybody else. So I was kind of lukewarm on the jerseys, but the helmets were so tasty.
The jerseys look like black mold was on the shirts. That's how I took it, and I get the speckled desert, but it grossed me out a little bit.
I like the jerseys. Okay, the helmets, I agree, Mike, were awesome. Yeah, 'cause obviously it's been a little while since that Thursday night game happened, and we are kind of still waiting on like official news is like what's going on with Benson, because there's some rumblings of maybe a minor injury going on. He didn't practice in like the walkthrough Monday, which was like an extra practice. The team doesn't have to report it. There's a chance by the time you're listening to this that you know more than we do. But I did want to go back.
Also, quick Dynasty pointer. Sorry, to get into Benson.
Yeah, go ahead.
We had an article coming out on our local AZ beat talking about it, saying we still don't know exactly what's going on because Monday was a bonus.
Right.
And yeah, I assume a bonus because it just has gone so bad. However, in that article, they alluded that Michael Carter, who was just recently added to the active roster, like he was brought up from practice last week.
He's still allowed in the NFL?
He is, and he was officially added to the active roster. Rumblings from this article that he may be the main guy as opposed to, and then just DeMarcado would keep his role.
It's interesting, yeah, but
so, Dynasty waiver, go check it out.
I mean, that is a nasty, nasty boy if he's out there. I did want to go back and look because it's been so long, and like watching the game, obviously in the first 3 quarters, like it was a pretty tough watch for the Cardinals offense. And this is a tough defense, right? Seattle's a very good defense. But when I was watching Benson and kind of looking at his role and like kind of going back to the box score and then kind of watching the tape afterwards, I was kind of okay with how he played. Like nothing blew me away, but nothing was like super disappointed. I thought he got what was blocked for him. He didn't really create a lot of extra yardage on top of what was blocked for him, in my opinion. Hands look good in the pass game, 5 targets. You love to see that. I did want to quickly kind of like highlight and remember where he was as a prospect for us, because it was a weak class last year on paper. Obviously, Bucky emerged as like a superstar kind of guy, but otherwise it was pretty generally considered weak. Benson was a lot of people's RB1, but I remember having the conversation last year on Benson saying, like during his time in college, he had some major injuries and he was never really like a true workhorse back coming out of Florida State. Like his career high in total carries was his final year at 156. Now, not saying he can't ever be a true workhorse in the NFL because the opportunity is clearly here with James Conner done for the season, but I did find it notable he only played about half the snaps and 13 total opportunities. Was that game script? Is that what the Cardinals want to do moving forward? Those are still kind of questions I have, but as far as like watching how he played, I thought he did okay. I thought he got what was blocked for him. I would love to see him in space where he can really use that size-speed combo that made him so effective at Florida State. But overall, I thought it was like a fine, performance without Conner. Obviously, I think people are wanting more, and we'll know more hopefully about the injury here too. But what are your guys' thoughts on Conner after his first game without James Conner?
You mean Benson?
What did I say, Conner? Benson's
Conner
first game
after his first game without Conner.
Benson's first game without Conner.
I did not watch that one. I thought Benson looked pretty good, especially in the getting him out in space. He was back during that week running back class. That was the Jonathan Brooks class for those who would like to pour another one out for their homie on their, if you have him on your roster, the double ACL tear. I was a Benson guy over Jonathan Brooks, and it's just the efficiency. It's like he's not built to be the big bruiser getting 300 opportunities, but to me, he seemed like someone who could be in a timeshare and be the one who maximizes. So, similar to how I liked Henderson. Henderson's not built like a 3-down running back, but if you get him in a timeshare on the right offense, Henderson can make magic happen. So I still do feel that way about Benson. I still believe in him, and I thought on the receiving work, he looked particularly good, and especially James Conner went down on a Sunday. They have a match. Oh my gosh, it's freaking Zoolander over here. They have a game on Thursday. So you're moving someone who has really never done a starting role for you up, and you got to get him ready in a couple days, and you don't even practice on that Monday. So I understand them feeling more comfortable with DeMarcado in those high pressure leverage situations, when they're in hurry up and those things. So I get it. I think over time, if he's healthy, Benson could eat even more into that. I think that Benson could be like a 60 to 65% type of a player.
Yeah, I think game script. Sorry to cut you off, Kyle. I think game script definitely hurt Benson's chances here too. So
yes,
when they're neutral game scripts are winning, he'll have opportunities.
Yeah, I wouldn't be disappointed with 5 targets in his first real opportunity to be the dude. I went back and looked at our notes from when he was a prospect, and Mike's not going to like this name, but one of my comps was Joe Mixon, and I think I saw it more of like, you can handle a workload. Like
you got to rewind the tape a long time. I really liked Joe Mixon, the prospect. I just got when all you're doing is you're on the field and you're just getting touches over and over, and you're so good for fantasy. I just don't like that. And after a while, I'm like, you can't keep getting away with this.
That's the Rachaad White, the inefficient,
exactly
big dude. You have another running back here that you got to watch the film, Mike.
I did. I took a look at the RJ Harvey tape from Monday Night Football. Wanted to see, how did that hold up to his statistical output? Because if you had played him, which, number one, congratulations that you played him on that week, because the first 3 weeks has not been great. What did it look like? And so early on, he had 2 carries in the first, as long as I, clocked everything right. 2 carries in the first, 5 in the second. And then he didn't get any more carries than that till it was fourth quarter, burn it out, which that's a glass half full type of a thing. Like, they trusted him to do it, but it was in a blowout. So I'm not really too sure where to read into that, but 7 carries in the first half, that's pretty solid. And he also had a 6-yard carry and a 9-yard carry that were called back to penalty. So, but the tape, I thought he was very impressive. At the line, running into where the gap is not there that he has been assigned to, or just setting up a jump cut, like trying to debate the defense in. I thought he looked spry. I thought he looked fast. He just missed, and which I blame Bo Nix. There was a throw that might have been a 50-yard or so receiving touchdown where RJ Harvey stretched out to get it, but Bo Nix just missed him. I was very encouraged, very, very encouraged that we are seeing more of timeshare being just Dobbins and Harvey. We don't have to deal with this bidet stuff anymore for fantasy football. And he looked good. It's the Bengals. So that is another little variable that you have to add.
They were spanked.
Dude, why? They were so bad. Their defense is so bad. There's these plays where it feels like it's taking 10 seconds for this play to develop, and the entire Bengals offense or defense just gets sucked way like 30 yards out, and then you're like, oh, hey, here's RJ Harvey, dump, go get some yards. It was kind of funny to see how that was happening, but I came away from the tape encouraged. The statistical output is probably higher than what we saw on the film, but this is what we had to see so we can get that RJ Harvey move forward. I don't know if he'll ever take over because Dobbins has looked so good, but the history of JK2L is been one that is full of breaking down and full of injuries. So if you got Harvey, I'm torn on if I want to just cram him into my lineup next week with the Philadelphia Eagles. It might be just a wait one more week, but we're on the way. Feeling good.
If you ever thought there was a buying window, it's definitely closed.
Oh, yeah. The buy window is done now.
And you should be excited. I don't know if it was just me watching the film. It felt in a good way cartoony that like the way that he jump cuts and the way that he kind of moves around the field, it's like he's almost out of control and yet he's in control while he's doing it. The only cartoon character, which is going to help everybody here, that I could compare it to is like how Goofy just somehow like keeps going in all of these and not the same size.
You're
obviously.
Falling down a hill that doesn't exist.
Yes, but like stays on his feet at the very end somehow. But like he just, and he looks so good as a receiver in space.
Yeah, he does.
That's kind of his thing. So Betz, any quick thoughts on Harvey?
I just wanted to note on the Broncos as a whole in our strength of schedule report, which if you're on the Foot Clan, you can check that out. We have Denver with the 11th easiest moving forward, including up to week 17, so like rest of season for fantasy, 11th easiest schedule for running backs. So I do think there's going to be opportunities, like Mike said, even if Dobbins is still healthy and still contributing in his role, that you might see a decent amount of Harvey here. And I mean, fantasy, like these leagues are won almost always on contingent situations that happen. If Dobbins should go down, I mean, Harvey looks like a true league winner. So yeah, if you got him and you saw that Monday night performance, you got to be feeling pretty good about what could happen here over the course of the season.
The fact that they were dominating the game, but one target for J.K. Dobbins, 5 receptions. I don't remember if it was 5 targets.
Coffee, it was 5 targets. Sorry. Let me look it up. I was thinking of Benson.
Maybe 7 targets. I don't know, but he caught 5 passes, and through 4 weeks, through a month of J.K. Dobbins looking very good on the ground. Like, oh man, he's at 5.7 a clip right now. Okay, so 5 total targets for Harvey. That would be 2 fewer targets than Dobbins has on the year. So, I mean, it could be an indication that should the Broncos hit a negative game script, which Philadelphia on the road, that will be, I think, a really strong piece of data for us to collect. If they go into Philly and they end up having to throw a bit more and we get more Harvey, that will be very exciting.
He could go full on Bucky. In terms of week 10 on, they flip the script. White was still involved. Like, we forget that White was a top 24 running back. He was annoying, but he was still utilized, except Bucky became the more valuable guy. So yeah, it's nice that you could wait it out if you had him and he was a luxury at running back for your roster rather than I'm counting on him right away, which we talked about it starting slow. I wanted to bring up Tetairoa McMillan because so far this year, only 3 players have seen 8 targets in each of the first 4 games. Puka Nacua, who's basically breaking the game that we all play. Garrett Wilson, who they should throw him the ball 30 million times more.
Yes, they should.
And Tetairoa McMillan. That's pretty crazy. And then if you go back over the last decade, the only other first-round wide receiver to see 8+ targets in each of their first 4 games, Amari Cooper. So his usage is pretty wild if you just think about that. There's no touchdowns yet, so people are probably frustrated, and some really weird game scripts. I went back and even watched week 3 against my beloved Falcons, which I guess if you want to categorize that as a game, it's fine. It was out of control. He only ran 25 routes. It didn't really matter. He did see 2 end zone targets in that game. He did have 3 drops in that game. So it was like a weird game. Last week, though, against New England, a lot of it was just timing with Bryce. I feel like they had a go ball where Bryce and him didn't hook up, and then they went right back to it on the next drive, and they did connect on it. I do wish they would move him around the formation. He's basically been like 85% of the time outside, where we kind of know like these big receivers like Drake London, if you move them around the field, usually good things happen. I think what I'm encouraged by is that you should not think of him as just a deep ball wide receiver. It's kind of like Mike Evans' early career. We remember all those plays with Jameis, and yet Mike Evans is so much more because he can run a slant or an in the middle of the field, and he's just bigger than everybody else. And you're kind of seeing that with McMillan. So despite no touchdowns, I would be incredibly encouraged if you took McMillan, let's say at 103, 104, or, I mean, there were people that had the discussion, McMillan or Hunter. And as a pure wide receiver, we were like, McMillan is who we want. I get the allure of Hunter, but I'm very encouraged by McMillan so far, and you should not be disappointed.
Yeah, I think that's a great point on McMillan as far as like what you have so far. Even though the box scores as far as fantasy points because of no touchdowns has not been incredible, everything you're seeing on the field and his command of the offense is so encouraging. So I am excited to see what the rest of the season looks like. The only reason I think they haven't used him as like a chess piece, moving him around, in my opinion, is because of the state of the depth chart currently. Xavier Legette's been out for 2 weeks. Also, how good is he at NFL football? Jalen Coker has been out, right, since he had that late August quad strain, I believe it was. So if they can get those two guys back on the field and let them run, hopefully on the perimeter, at least Legette for sure, then maybe you see T-Mac moved around a little bit more, put him in the slot and those sort of things. So when I think about how Bryce Young wins as far as like what he does well in the NFL, I don't picture him as like a deep ball, throw it on the boundary quarterback. Like those best games that he's had with like Adam Thielen over the last couple of years and those guys has been the high percentage stuff in the 10 to 15-ish yard range on targets. I think if you can get T-Mac those, he is way more than, like you said, just a deep ball receiver. So I'm really interested to see what happens with where he's at in the alignment as far as moving around the formation when those guys come back in the lineup. But yeah, like you said, everything you've seen from him for the first month, you've got to be really encouraged.
What are these billion-dollar organizations, which, I don't work for them, but they go into the season saying, okay, well, we've got a first-round wide receiver, and then we're just going to figure it out at these other skill position spots, like the Jets. The Jets and the Panthers depth charts are so barren that it's painful. Like, it was painful to watch that Jets game and to see other people running around.
Well, Kyle, what you're missing is, the rest of the Jets roster is clearly, it's so souped up that they don't even have to worry about that.
Like, did they have a meeting and they were like, okay, so let's go around, let's assess the roster. No, we'll be fine. We'll be totally fine. And the Panthers, like, I get where they're at in their trajectory, but like beginning of the season, we'll be fine. Let's trade away the one dependable guy that's been on this team the last couple of years, Thielen. I guess they were counting on Coker, but
yeah,
it just feels so rough when you look at the rest of the roster and go, you have to be the dude. Garrett Wilson did that on Monday night when he had his opportunities, but like so many random routes from Josh Reynolds or Arian Smith that didn't matter. Same thing with this team, the Panthers.
Man, Aaron Glenn is going to be staring down a new job.
Poor guy.
Yeah, it's a bummer. I liked the hire. I thought he could come in and change up the culture, but that team in front of everyone on Monday, that was an embarrassment. Honestly, like when they're watching the film and they're in practices, I would not want to be in that room.
Yeah, it's tough, right? The team is built. If they are playing with a lead, they can function offensively. When you have to make Justin Fields a drop back passer and your wide receiver 2 is, some combination of Lazard and Josh Reynolds and Arian Smith, like it's not going to go well, obviously. So their defense just is not what it was, 4 years ago when we were kind of counting on them as like the top unit in the league. They're like middle of the pack, and when you're in negative game scripts, it's just you can't come back from that. So yeah, that was a really tough watch Monday night.
All right, let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back. All right, we're going to jump in and look at some of our Dynasty rankings and compare them to the rest of season rankings, which is brand new if you are a Foot Clan member. That is something that we've got to add mid-season. And I don't know, Mike, maybe you can speak on this as somebody that owns the company. You guys have been pitched, 1,000 different ideas of what to add over time. Why do you feel like rest of season rankings, you guys were at the point of like, let's go for this?
We were finally at the point with the other tools that, we're still a small company, of like 10-ish employees. We got we just recently added on a third developer, and that was we were bottlenecked of all the things that we want to get done but we're small, so it's not always possible. And the Foot Clan membership, it was at a point where we felt comfortable figuring out how to get the tech, and then we'll be doing some other cool stuff building upon rest of season rankings to try and help people out there, trades and things like that.
Yeah, and if you want access to all of the tools, you can go to footclan.com, and it's year-round stuff, especially for those that are Dynasty people. That's why it's here. So let's jump in.
Dynasty Rankings.
I thought this would be a good exercise for us to compare those rankings of, hey, in season, which I need to say this to people. If you're playing in Dynasty, you are still making decisions as if it is redraft for your start sits, right? It's not like all of a sudden you have a Dynasty roster that's making Dynasty start sits. In 2025, you are looking at your roster and, I look at our start sit tool. It's like, that's where I'm making these decisions at flex, wide receiver. As nice as it is to have a bunch of young wide receivers, you might not be starting them every single week because an older guy like Devontae Adams is just going to keep crushing rest of the season. So I took our final Dynasty rankings, so what we had right before the season kicked off, and then I'm comparing them to where we have these players rest of season, and we'll talk about some of the biggest discrepancies. So which players have moved the most and which ones do we need to have a discussion about? So like at quarterback, we don't have to talk a ton about this, but like Daniel Jones obviously looks very different than what we thought before the season of, is he going to be the starter? That was the question. Now it's, this guy's a top 12 quarterback, maybe rest of season. So, I'm not really giving Dynasty advice about Daniel Jones because we don't know what he is. He's probably going to Sam Darnold his way into another contract, and that's awesome. And you profited, but I would not be making actionable go trade for Daniel Jones right now and have a long-term outset, unless you guys feel different.
I can tell you on my Burrow Dino team, where lost Joe Burrow there in week 2, I fired off a quick third rounder for Daniel Jones that was immediately
in
rejected.
a one quarterback.
In a one quarterback.
I get it. Everyone's like, I'm profiting right now. I think I can get way more than this.
Yeah.
And the price has
only
gone
two
up.
weeks in.
Yeah. The price has gone up a lot. Other names that have kind of gained value, at least you can look at Matthew Stafford and say, wow, he's been competent. He had a 300-yard game this past week. Caleb Williams, I think, is one of the names that I was most shaky about.
He is extremely difficult.
And going into the season, I had my thoughts about what he is as a quarterback, but also was resolved to say, hey, Ben Johnson can change that. I think it's been really, really good as a scrambler, which we love. And yet I still think there's some development, but it's just nice to see Rome break out with him. So, Betz, any names here that you want to bring up, or you want to go further into Caleb?
I do want to talk about Justin Fields just real quick because we kind of mentioned the Jets briefly, but like he's a guy that in redraft, or if you have him in Dynasty, like I'm excited to start him, not for the real life NFL quarterback he is, but just because there's like, 2, maybe 3 quarterbacks in the league that can do what he did on Monday night, which is rip off a 50-yard touchdown run. Like for fantasy, he's got incredible ceiling outcomes. I still am so concerned about like, is he even a starter next year? Is he even on the Jets next year, right? Because the contract is kind of, you're a starter, but like if we don't want you as a starter, like we can move on kind of thing. And so we talked about the trajectory of the team. Like they're 0-4, probably going to have a losing season here, miss the playoffs. They're going to be looking for resetting the culture and getting a foundational guy to be their quarterback, those sort of conversations that losing teams have every year. So I still have concerns about Justin Fields' like long-term dynasty outlook. So that's a guy that to me, depending on where you're at in your dynasty league, like if you're not a contender, like and somebody needs that quarterback firepower, I'm definitely shopping Justin Fields, especially after what we saw in the fantasy performance Monday night. That's my kind of sense on him. But as far as Caleb, yeah, like I think it's kind of been up and down, I would say, as far as real life NFL quarterbacking, which for 4 games with a new scheme and a new coach, I think is what you might expect, right? The other thing is that they don't really have a run game. So with how he's performing given those factors, I'm way more encouraged by that compared to what I saw last year. So I think, yeah, Caleb, you're obviously super excited about what you have in redraft right now. I think for Dynasty, I'm way more in than I was this offseason. just because of the fact that you get Ben Johnson, obviously it was the conversation all year, but if they actually can figure out the run game next year and get like their legit weapons that they were super excited about, Luther Burden, Colston Loveland, maybe as the year goes on, and Ben Johnson really can finally put his stamp on this and rein Kaleb in a little bit and like really make the offense go, I think there's still a huge ceiling here. So I was kind of wishy-washy after his first year. I'm definitely more in on Kaleb, both redraft and dynasty, after what we've seen.
Tied for the 6th most scrambles so far through 4 weeks. I feel like that is one of those words, I'm just going to say it. If you bring up the word scramble rate about a quarterback, it gets me hot and bothered. I like it. I like it. I want that. Like Jackson Dart is also on this list because we talked in the offseason, highest scramble rate of this class, first game of his career, 10 rush attempts. It's like, oh, that can work despite throwing for what, 111 yards or whatever it was.
Yeah, barely over a hundo.
So, yeah, Kaleb, it's nice to see. Dart, it's nice to see. I want to get your thoughts about Bo Nix, Mike, because we have him in redraft.
Yep.
He was a hot name to talk about this offseason in Dynasty as like he's locked in as a top 10 quarterback. Maybe he takes the next step and he's like, QB5, QB6. And it was a nice fantasy outcome that we saw on Monday night. But you and I were messaging during the game and messaged a couple of weeks in. I feel like play to play, I have no idea what to expect from him. And I thought he would be a less volatile player.
Yeah. So we got 326 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Bengals.
A couple runs for not many yards, but he did have the rushing touchdown. And the end zone interception on the bootleg to the right was just horrific. I mean, that is you're not a first year quarterback. You got to throw that thing away. Stop it. Stop thinking you're Superman. Go to the next play. So he for my rest of season redraft, like he's right outside my top 12, and I think could probably fluctuate a couple spots because like people would disagree. Like I have Fields in my top 10. Like I'm a sucker for it. I will take the pain of the Justin Fields experience in our league in the league of record. It was week 1 was 30 plus points. Week 2 was 3 points. And then back to last week, it got over the 30 mark because up until the scramble, the 50-yard whatever it was touchdown, it was brutal, man. He just I made the comment in our chat. I was like, he looks like he's buffering while trying to read the field. You had like plays of Garrett Wilson as a crosser wide open, and it takes him forever to figure out that this is what I need to do is just dump this to Garrett Wilson, and then to the point of Garrett Wilson like had to stop and meet the ball. It was so many plays like that. So you go from that into the electric where he totally bails the team out because they called a terrible play and he scores a huge touchdown on it. I wanted to do the win-loss real quick with Justin Fields because I think that matters so much to Coach Glenn and to Fields if he's going to be around for next year. So they're 0-4 right now. Their upcoming matchups is at home against Dallas. It's winnable.
Yes.
Right?
If
you guys
they don't have
agree?
13 penalties again.
The spread's only
It's
2.5.
winnable.
So it's basically a pick 'em.
There you go. It's the Cowboys are a favorite, I assume. Yeah. Denver, probably not. So that puts us at 1-5. But then Carolina and Cincinnati are the next 2 games. And then a bye week, and Cleveland is the next. Like, this team could end up at 4-5. If you are in on Fields, you better hope that that's what's happening because this team needs to. I'd reckon they got to win 6+, or everything will be just torn down to the nubs.
Maybe he has a little bit longer leash because he's like a franchise guy.
I'm talking next year. I'm not talking this year.
Oh, sorry. I was talking about Glenn. I think.
Glenn. No. I think that if Aaron Glenn, if the team continues to look the way that they look, he will be a one and done coach.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we've seen that with some defensive head coaches. But yeah, the Jets are in the running to be a top 5 pick that could take a quarterback.
Yeah.
And we will talk about that as we get later on in the season of like, are there quarterbacks there that they want to be taking? Before the season, I was joking with Betz that like, I was told by some people that there are 6 first-round quarterbacks in this year's class. Watching college football, if you're plugged in, Betz, are there 6 first-round quarterbacks right now in college football?
Doesn't seem that way. But every year we do this, right? Where we get to like April and then there's a little steam of like, I don't know, this guy could go round 1. Like that, it happens. It's
But
like
not
cyclical
6.
every year. No, I know, but I'm saying there will be a
6
conversation
is
about that.
outrageous.
Yeah, there's been
6
a lot
will be
of
a legendary draft class.
There's been a lot of disappointing quarterback play across college football.
How's Arch doing? I kind of tuned out after the first couple weeks. Is it still bad? This is legit. I don't know. Is it still rough?
They haven't really played anybody recently. So kind of
the cupcake. We in those matchups where we pay other colleges to get beat up by us.
We're finally starting to get out of those, but yes, that's what September usually
College
is.
football's so weird.
It is.
It's so weird.
Boots on the ground at Penn State, Oregon, which was one of the biggest games of the week. And I can tell you, Drew Aller is not a first-round quarterback, even though he's part of that group.
He's so bad, man. He's been a starter for 3 years and has not developed. He's not gotten better any year. His decision making is so bad.
His face was so good.
It's so frustrating, man. He's not it. But we can talk more about that in the offseason. He's just
you went to one of the games of the year and you came away so sad.
It was so bad, man. Yeah, he's just not. He just doesn't have it between the ears. Like the arm talent, he can rip the ball down the field if he's able to. You got to do way more than that in the NFL, and he just doesn't seem to have it all together.
All right, I'm looking at our running back rest of season rankings right now, and some of the biggest jumps from players that were just in this ambiguous world in Dynasty. Javonte Williams, J.K. Dobbins, Jordan Mason, Travis Etienne. Like all 4 of those guys, you go, I don't even know if they're the starter of their team before the season. And now you look at all of them contributing for teams. Etienne's the one I wanted to bring up because he's in the final year of his deal. And yet I think we all think of him as like a top 15 running back rest of season. In Dynasty, I don't know what to do though. Like if I'm a contender, I'm writing this out, but I don't know what he is beyond this. So he's looked really, really, really good. He's averaging over 6 yards per carry. And over the last decade, there have only been 7 running backs that have seen 60 plus carries in the first month to average over 6 yards per carry. It's like Derrick Henry, Saquon, Todd Gurley, and then like Isaiah Crowell somehow is in there.
Oh man, the Crowell year was legendary.
Oh geez.
So I would jump in, Kyle, and say, I think that you should still be holding your judgment on Travis Etienne either way of like saying that doing the victory lap that we are back or saying, oh, I got to dump him because I want to maximize my value. He should, Kyle said he should be a top 15 guy rest of year. But these matchups, Carolina, the Bengals, Houston, which that was the one game where he struggled, and then San Francisco, whose defense has been, pretty beat up and not what they once were. The next 3 weeks, Kansas City, Seattle, and the Rams.
For sure.
These are 3 top half minimum defenses that I think you will have a better understanding of. Is the Cohen system, is it godly, truly godly for making running backs just have insane value? Or did they have some easier matchups to start the year and then you find out that he's actually a matchup play and not a plug and play?
He also has 6 receptions through the first month. That feels like oddly low when you look around the rest of the team and you go, well, like Brian Thomas Jr. is not catching anything. Hunter's like a part-time player. Where are all the targets going?
Brenton Strange, baby.
Brenton Strange.
Real quick on Etienne, because I want to just contextualize what Mike said about the schedule. If you do think that these next 3 or so weeks we could see some efficiency concerns from the running game, and you are not a contender, I'm using this first month and these beautiful green box scores, RB3, RB12, RB18, RB11 the last 4 weeks, to try to cash in, because like we talked about in the offseason, like contract concerns. We don't really know where he's playing next year. And I would say when he's on, he's a very good running back. He's clearly not in the elite, CMC Henry tier of like, he's not going to age out immediately. He's going to be 27 at some point, before next season starts, basically. He's going to be 27 at some point.
He'll be 27 at some point.
That's how this works.
He is, per the database, 26.7. So his next birthday, he will be 27. So your bets, you're more on the side of cash out for a non-contender immediately?
Yeah, if I'm like a middling to rebuild team, this is the time, I think.
I get it. I still feel like a month in, we don't know what this team is, despite what Liam Cohen feels about this team, despite what he wants to tell the world. And,
dude, Cohen,
buck up.
He's got that dog, man. You see him after the game?
Yeah. No, I saw it. I saw it. I've seen that guy at the bar pretending he wants to fight people a lot.
From across the room.
Yeah, from across the room after you shove your friend in front of you and you do you hug your friend who's in front of you and you're like, hold me back. You're like, no, you're the one holding yourself back, dude. If you want to be a big dog, go be a big dog. Don't do this. Oh man, that was disgusting. He moved down in my rankings.
I wonder how often he practiced that in the mirror before the game. Like, I'm going to do
at
this.
least 10 times.
If we win, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
Now, if he lost, there's no chance he said that.
No, of course not.
Gosh, Purdy had a couple of turnovers. I was sad they lost. Running backs that have lost value, or at least when I look at what we thought before the season Dynasty and then how it's turned out right now, we brought up Tyrone Tracy. He was one of Mike's ice picks.
I believe
summer.
I called him a waste of a pick. Now,
oh man,
I did. That's what I said. Because to me, Scadaboo was clearly going to take over. I wasn't projecting an injury, and Tracy looked okay on his carries. It was just that the crayon eater back there was going to eventually get on the field.
I love that picture of him.
Dude,
I love it.
I wish I knew who sent that tweet because that
was a good one.
Perfection.
Yeah.
Oh
man,
Tracy
so
Tracy
fun.
is one of those guys where historically you could have been right and done a victory lap last year, and yet we would just say in Dynasty over time it's really hard for someone that's picked later on in the draft who's older, who the team doesn't think of the same way we do in fantasy. They just don't have a long shelf life. And now he could still have a run here with the team. He could still have value, but Scadaboo is his own thing. And culture-wise, people love him.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. I'm sure the team has to feed off of it too. Of when you see the caveman doing those things, it fires you up to keep. I mean, they beat the freaking Chargers. That is so insane. Call that a one of my survivor pools gone.
Did you picked against Andy's almost upset?
I did. I certainly did.
You're a bold man.
You sounded like somebody from Jersey. They beat the freaking Chargers.
Did you guys see it start and Scadaboo after the game, on the Giants socials? You know how players, after a big win, they'll do a quick 30-second selfie video, just kind of hyping up the crowd.
Okay.
It was him and Scadaboo. It was what up, man? It's 6 and Fofo in the trap. And Scadaboo just pops into the camera, and he's just so excited. It really made me laugh.
I gotta pull this. That's how he's talking?
Fofo in the trap. What a guy.
Oh, man.
I'll send it to you.
We've had some good Scadaboo moments in my friend group chats where he looks like the guy who's hey, I'm just a friend staying over. Can I sleep on your couch? He's just kind of along for the ride. All right, so let me talk about some other running backs that it just hasn't gone well in the first month. So Jaydon Blue has as many rushing yards as Betz right now because they don't want him to wear the uniform.
He might have to.
They currently do not, but Miles Sanders left Sunday, left the game very early, I guess, and did not come back. So Jaydon Blue's time, it might be coming. Actually, the problem for the Jaydon Blue truthers is that Javonte looks great.
Yes.
Which was not part of the plan.
Jaydon Blue yet to be active. Kaleb Johnson, barely been active.
Oh, man, Kaleb Johnson.
I did look this up because if you're a day 2 running back, the team is saying to us, we like this player. Remember the Steelers were doing all those top 30 visits? We were like, okay, they're going to take a running back. They did. But since 2020, I looked at all the day 2 running backs who couldn't even hit 50 yards rushing in their first 4 games. Some bad names in here, but there are players that were not just irrelevant. A.J. Dillon, DeAndre Swift in his first 4 games.
I mean, it's worked out for him.
Yeah, Rashad White, Tank Bigsby has come back to be an NFL player that at least is alive and could do something.
Kind of. I mean, you want to talk about guys that have lost value.
Yes.
Tank Bigsby was the co-starter for the Jags, and now he's what? Betz, what has Tank Bigsby even done up there?
He's just there for the vibes, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Kick return.
Hey, big vibes guy, Tank Bigsby.
They actually had Dylan come in for a couple carries behind Saquon. And it was
all the
interesting.
guys.
The boys, man. Will Shipley, AJ Dillon, Tank Bigsby. I mean, that's a crew right there.
Yeah, this is just a list of the Eagles' backups, Kyle.
Pretty much.
Swift was on the team. Yeah, I get it. So Kaleb Johnson is going to go from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia. That's what it seems like to me.
At some point, yeah.
I got to bring up this name because Chase Brown from redraft and Dynasty has obviously lost a ton of value, and yet he's still seeing an insane workload. So everything that we usually say about running backs is, are you getting this type of work? So he has seen 37% of the team's total rush attempts and targets through the first month of the season. That is a top 8 mark among all running backs. Workload, check. The team stinks. And without Burrow, it's not going to be good. Any thoughts what to do in Dynasty? Because we're at the point in redraft where it's like, if you can pivot, that's great. But in Dynasty, you can't just like sell them off right now at the bottom price.
No, in your Dynasty-wise, Chase Brown, yeah, this is not where you want to be. This is like while I loved him for fantasy football this year because I'm like, hey, the things that they have done, he looks like a workhorse. That box has been checked. Unfortunately, all the other boxes will remain unchecked for the rest of the season. And he'll be going into year 4. Because you can't trade him right now because he has no value. And then you're going to have another full off season of the super sweats of watching free agency, watching the draft. Like he will be in extreme danger of massively losing value. Now he could make it through unscathed, and then we get another chance. It's year 4, Chase Brown. Let's run it back. Maybe they fix the offensive line a little bit, but it is going to be not for a weak-hearted person to hold on to Chase Brown through this entire process, because he will. There's going to be a couple games here there I bet you could play him when they're up against a more inferior opponent. Unfortunately, Detroit, Green Bay, it is not going to be them over the next 2 weeks. There's just it will be more miss than hit, and I would be pretty concerned that you're going to be holding the bag. But there's nothing you can do right now.
Yeah, I think if you're kind of stuck holding the bag and your team happens to kind of take a turn for the worst here over the course of the next month or so, remember, like, there's so much chaos in the NFL. At some point, contenders are going to need running back help. And look, Chase Brown might not be the top 12 guy we all hoped he could be this year for fantasy, but like, if the schedule opens up and he can turn into the RB 18 to like 24 most weeks for a contender, that will still have value. So I am kind of just holding tight here and hoping for the best over the next several weeks. And then if somebody needs a running back, I'm trying to capitalize there. But like Mike said, the value of what you obviously could have gotten for him in the offseason is way less. That's the risk with these types of guys, right? It's like,
yes.
And obviously if Joe Burrow is healthy, then maybe this conversation isn't happening. But like, even with that, I was kind of just like scared to buy into Chase Brown from Dynasty because he didn't have a ton of, draft capital, financial support from the team, even after a really strong end of the season last year. So it was these guys I'm always willing to just say, hey, like, I'm going to cash out most of the time in the offseason, and it's not always going to work, and sometimes you're going to regret it, but I think you'll be right more often than you're not, at least recouping like a lot of value when you capitalize on some of these guys, big season, when they don't have that strong draft capital. That's kind of my take home from the whole situation.
Yep, year 3 running backs that don't have the same draft capital. This is what we did with Pacheco the year before. You either had to be fully in. With Kyron, same thing. Like, okay, he's going to get an extension. I'm in. I cashed out with Brown after the NFL draft because I said to myself, this could go he could be really good for 2025, but this is the top of his value. And I'm on the side that I don't think it works because I hate draft capital unless it's good. And I don't think he's crazy talented. I think he was the product of a really good situation on a good offense. Sometimes that works with Kyron, and then sometimes it doesn't work. So I cashed out. Man,
we are going to be having some very fun draft capital discussions over the next year, as this is the year of day 3 running backs.
Yes.
Oh gosh, do I have to invest heavily in a day 3 running back?
Woody Marks, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, Scatterboom.
There are so many discussions that people hear from footballers. Like, I got a message the other day from somebody like, I was so excited to draft Tyler Warren because Jason told me that rookie tight ends are good. I was like, Jason was the opposite guy. But they were
I thought he finally bought in after Brock.
It was just a funny thing because like Andy, he was an Andy.
Yeah,
he
was Andy's guy. Yeah.
And he was like, because of Jason, I like rookie tight ends now.
We have that from time to time of, someone will get a tweet and to me, be like, dude, I thank you so much for recommending this guy. I'm like, I hated that guy. I was so wrong. What are you
I will take the credit though.
Yeah, but no, thank you. Thank you so much. Tell your friends.
All right, let's take a quick break and we'll be right back with some wide receivers. All right, moving on to some wide receivers that have gained a ton of value. We have to talk about Quentin Johnston. He was the number 1 requested player that I got this week. And right now, rest of season, we have him as a top 20 wide receiver. And I feel like we could easily say top 15.
Probably.
A sentence that if I told you this summer, you would say, okay, so Lad's hurt. That must be it. Lad's hurt, and he must be seeing a ton of volume. But I want to give you a stat real quick, and then we can talk about it. Last year, he was targeted on 24% of his routes in 2024.
That's healthy.
That was the 7th highest in year 2 of any first-round wide receiver last decade. So, he was up there with Chase, Jefferson, Olave, all the big boys. But last year, he was running 25 routes per game, and 50% of them were posts, go, just run down the field. Through the first month, it's been pretty diverse, and I think he's more than a deep ball yak guy that he came in, and that's kind of the same conversation we had off air and you guys had on the main show. Davante Adams was so bad through his first 2 years, people forget. And at the very beginning of Footballers, Jason used to say Davante Adams stinks because he did stink. Mm-hmm. He had the drops. He had all those issues. And then he morphed into something way more than just go run a 9 route. Where are you at with Quge, though, Mike?
I mean, it's the beginning of the conversation, honestly. I mean, Kyle, if we had said that to you as well, you'd be like, oh, man, Lad's hurt. Trey Harris must also have gotten hurt.
Right.
It all starts with Justin Herbert's number 1 guy is valuable. That's kind of been the story for him for fantasy football. I mean, it was Keenan Allen for quite a while. Then it's Lad last year. And I don't know. I can't speak to what has happened in the journey of Quge's life, what has taken over. This might surprise you guys, but I've never been a professional NFL wide receiver. So I don't know what it's like when you're not good, especially you're not meeting expectations. But he has seemingly turned it around. And if he's the number 1 guy for Justin Herbert here, then you need to just let it wash over you and accept that this is what it is. No, as Jason would say, he was drafted to be great. He was drafted to be this guy. I think, I think coaches honestly ruined it. We see that happen a lot with players of they go to the wrong team. You end up getting put into a spot that does not service your skills and capabilities. I think that's what happened there with Quentin Johnston. And so now that he has now that he's got, Harbaugh and everything, and they're figuring it out, his talent, his physical natural ability combined with who he was in college, it's hitting its stride. And for as awesome as Ladd is, and I still believe that he is awesome, like if Quge was gone, Ladd McConkey would, I think, be dominating for fantasy football. But when everyone is great and one guy is just so much larger and faster, your greatness it goes away because the big guy is going to win. That's the life of the NFL. So I think that's where we are. We don't want to get completely out in front of our skis that through, the peripherals from last year, very good, but the production wasn't there. It was another feather in the cap of the targets per route run of letting us know that this player might be better than we actually think they are. So that part is nice that we're getting some more signal for fantasy football. But at this point, I'm just going to let it wash over me. I'm not going to freak out for Dynasty and crank Quentin Johnston up in my rankings, not yet. But for this year, I have accepted it. This is who he is.
Yeah, they've done a great job in LA, and he has done a great job too. Credit to him of kind of working at it the last couple of years and developing. Because if you guys recall, coming out of TCU, almost all of his production was like, hey, go run a deep route and let's hit him with his speed, or screen pass and you just go be athletic and you're faster than the other guys on the field. And in college, that works. And so these evaluations, I think for me personally, I don't know what you guys think, are just like so hard to evaluate a potential career arc for this player because they're not asked to do the same things in college as they are in the NFL. And usually the biggest learning curve of that is like, whoa, the first year in the NFL, this is way different, especially when you're playing for a coach like, Harbaugh in your second year and these guys that expect perfection. Like, it's hard to do those things. So maybe this is hindsight bias, but like maybe we shouldn't be so surprised the first year was so terrible. And now he's developing with an awesome quarterback and a scheme that looks great. So yeah, I think that's one thing too to kind of keep in our back pockets for like evaluating wide receivers moving forward, coming out of college and stuff, is just remember everything coming out of TCU was not really NFL type stuff. Sometimes it takes those guys a little bit of time.
That's a great point because of all the statistics, everything else, like I don't know what role an NFL team has for this player, much less, the scheme, the coaching staff that could change over time and just everybody else. I think what was so hard is this team signaled we need wide receiver help. Let's spend a second round draft pick and let's pay for Keenan Allen.
Right.
So I think that's the hardest part, that every single person, even the biggest Quge supporter, if they were still out there, like you would just say, like, how is it possible not just to like carve out a role? Like last year, he caught 8 touchdowns. That's a cool role. That's not like always fantasy friendly. He's been in the top 24 every single week. And that's kind of where we're at. I got a question right here from somebody that said, hey, I know you guys are going to talk about Quge probably this week. Would you rather have Quge or a late 2026 first round draft pick?
Ooh, that's tough.
I mean, context always matters, but if I have any glimpse of a playoff run, then I'm going to keep Quge.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, to trade him away now, you're trying to like guess, like, okay, maybe this is fool's gold and I need to get ahead of him. What if he's just like a good NFL player? Like I thought, okay, he's Darius Slayton. He's going to have these big games, and yet maybe that's all he is. But what if he morphs into a top 24 wide receiver every single year for the next 3 to 4 years? Don't trade that away for a future first. That's just me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, he's all over the map because people are still carrying the priors. Would you rather have, I'm going to give you a couple of names here, Quge or Matthew Golden?
Quge.
I think Quentin Johnston.
Guys, our priors are confirmed. I said on the main show, if Matthew Golden, I will give him this opportunity. If he cannot succeed, because I was as out could be on Matthew Golden for where he was being ranked before, where people thought of him. It was like this weekend was Ashton Genty is in the perfect situation. He better dominate. Matthew Golden is in the perfect situation. He better dominate. And the Green Bay Packers scored how many? 40 points?
40 to 40.
40. And Matthew Golden had just over 50 yards. It's like, dude, no thank you. No thank you.
I will say, they're on their bye week. Sometimes we see rookies kind of emerge up to the bye.
Like, I'm not out on Matthew Golden. Just of
like he's out of the league.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing.
But they get Cincy, Arizona, Pittsburgh, Carolina are the next 4 matchups for the Packers out of their bye week.
What does he need to do to make you smile at him, Mike?
I mean, at least 75. Especially if your team is scoring 40 points, you better have 75 yards or 50 and a touchdown. And not 50 yards because you stole Dontavian Wicks' touchdown throw down the sideline.
Yeah, both guys in the same spot. I didn't even know who he was targeting. I was like, we took a Golden longest catch prop this week, and I was like, please go to Golden. Well, I saw them both on the screen. I was like, uh-oh, here comes Wicks. But yeah, we'll see.
My evaluation when they showed from the behind the line of scrimmage camera, it was like, I'm pretty sure that was for Wicks. And then Golden just saw the ball and maybe he forgot where Wicks was supposed to be. I don't know.
All right, I'm going to give you a couple more names with Quge and we'll close out because I most asked about player by far in redraft in Dynasty. Would you rather have Quentin Johnston or Keon Coleman?
Johnston. Easy for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
That one's easy for me,
I'm going
too.
to keep moving up. I'm going to get to a really dangerous name that I don't want to mention, but would you rather have Jordan Addison or Quentin Johnston? Same draft class.
That's tough.
Think one of them has a quarterback I know is great.
That's right. Or I was just going to say, I think the quarterback is going to make the tie for me. Or split the tie, I should say, and I'll go Quge.
That's fair. Also not playing on a field with Justin Jefferson.
Xavier Worthy or Quentin Johnston in Dynasty?
Quge. That one's easy for me.
Yeah, I think Quge.
That one I could get totally owned by Worthy. But once Rashee Rice is back, the way I see it shaking out is Worthy goes back to his occasional deep completions every once in a while.
I'm going to do a deep dive later on this week of has there ever been a player after the first month of the season resurrect their dynasty career like Quentin Johnston has? It's not normal.
We are in the reason some of these questions are so hard is because I feel like we are in a very uncharted territory where we don't have I can put into a bucket 20 players who fit this and 5 of them made it. So you're like, oh, that's not historically that has not been a great bet. I'll keep betting against it. This one this feels like a 1 of 1 or maybe 1 of 2.
Right.
All right, speaking of 1 of 1 or 1 of 2, would you rather have Quentin Johnston or Travis Hunter?
Oh my gosh.
Imagine having this conversation with any sane person on the planet 4 weeks ago because it wouldn't happen. And then on top of that, I do not want to judge Travis Hunter. I've been, I put out some stuff. I put out his film of all of his deep targets this year. Lawrence has looked booty, really, really bad. But the hardest part about Hunter is he's also something you can't compare to any other historical, just any player ever. But what is he? And I have a hard time in fantasy. So the game we play, not the NFL, but the game we play, if I don't know what you are, Kyle Pitts, these kind of players where it's you're not really a wide receiver, not really a tight end. You're not really a wide receiver. It's you're all of these things and yet you're none of them. That's the hardest part for me to land on a value in Dynasty. So I would not be trading away Travis Hunter right now for Quge. That's my opinion, but it could look stupid.
I'll call this like a parallel type of a situation where you don't, it's hard to establish true value because you didn't want to buy in because the dude was drafted in the freaking 5th round and he broke all the records as a rookie. And even after doing that, Puka, if you go back and look at Dynasty rankings, people are making that hard decision. You're like, yeah, of course I'm in. Of course, for almost 1,500 yards as a rookie. But he was drafted in the 5th round. Should I really be taking him over player X, player Y, player Z? There was so many guys. And it even happened coming into this year. Like, Kyle, before the show started, did you say it on the mic? I don't remember. You were saying, is there any world where you're saying, is Puka the number 1 Dynasty wide receiver now? And it's not an unfair thing to say. I said, I'm going to stick with Jamar because Burrow is there and Stafford is this, who knows how long he's going to be there. But put Joe Burrow on the Rams. Like,
make it happen.
For a thought experiment. Are we just like, yeah, Puka's the number 1 fantasy
yes,
wide
if Joe
receiver.
Burrow is his quarterback and he's healthy, I think we'd all say Puka would be wide receiver.
But my
1.
point is, even after 2 years, because of the draft capital, we were all still hesitant to get him like into that top 3, top 5. And you're like, well, he should have been. He should have been there all along. We should have bought in year 1. It's the hardest thing about Dynasty is, when you have to make black and white decisions when we live in a gray world. So that's where we are with. I'm bringing that up because of Quentin Johnston. You're 4 weeks in, and this dude isn't just lucking his way into being good for fantasy. He's out there dominating, and he is Justin Herbert's number 1 target. The team, I don't know if they're still number 1 for pass rate over expectation through 4 weeks. They were through 3. I mean, they're way, way up there. Like, this is a team that, even though they're Giro and Hardog, they're throwing it at a ton. So this might be the cheapest you can get in on Quge. It might be.
They are. They are still
Oh.
number 1 in pass rate over expectation.
Okay. Oh, man.
Yeah, and I'm going to say this again. For Travis Hunter managers, hear what I'm saying. I would rather have Travis Hunter in Dynasty. Do not make up your mind because this team still doesn't know what he is, and that's okay. When you started saying a 5th round player, I was like, man, who is he talking about? And at first, I thought you were going to bring up a 6th round player that was Antonio Brown, who
sure
had 167 receiving yards.
I wasn't in the Dynasty world when that was going on, so I can't speak to it.
167 receiving yards as a rookie. Irrelevant. Like, you didn't even think about it. The next year, had 1,100 and then 2 touchdowns. Good, but you wouldn't have thought this is about to be the wide receiver 1 in Dynasty for the next 6 years. My point is more saying we try to give valuations when part of this game is just like it doesn't make sense. If you have Quge, hold on to him. Like, that's my advice.
I agree.
Is that
my
what you're
advice
saying?
too.
Yep, I agree.
Okay.
Would you trade a late 2026 first to go get him?
My team needs wide receiver help, is what you're saying.
I'm inverting that trade you just said. That we said no, I wouldn't trade him for that.
Yes, because
so if
I
you
like
had
the
that
Chargers.
first, would you? I would do it. I would do it.
I think I would do it.
I just would love to sit down with our, August 2025 selves. Have a conversation. Hey, we're talking about this guy named Quentin Johnston, wide receiver 1 for the Chargers. Oh, Ladd, that guy's nothing anymore. No, he's going to be fine. I hope.
Don't let us down, Quentin. We believe in you.
I know. Quentin, Ladd, and Keenan, it can all work together. That's the plan.
Guys,
that's what I hope for.
Next 3 matchups. Washington. Miami. The
Okay.
Colts. Minnesota, Then the Titans. I mean, this could continue.
Let's turn it around. Let's turn around for the rest of the boys. That's going to do it for this episode. Make sure you check out the rest of season rankings, which you can find at footclan.com. Those are updated every single week throughout the season. And we'll talk to you again next week. Goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Fantasy Footballers Dynasty Podcast. If you want to take your Dynasty skills to the next level, check out thefantasyfootballers.com.